BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this Kundalini Awakened program. This program that is all about your Kundalini Awakening experiences. Maybe some tips and some instruction on how you can handle your experience in a smooth, safe, and sane way. My name is Chrism, and I am joined by my co-host, Amelia Santara. Hello, Amelia.
Hi, Chrism. Hello, everybody. I'm looking at the chat room here. I'm seeing Vincent, Mary Jean, guests, starting to log in now. I'm seeing Elizabeth on the phone. So welcome, everybody. Good to be here.
And it's good to have you here. And I'd also like to mention that I'm also joined by Joey Frost. And I'm going to have her say hello. Hello. That's it. And Rosemary.
Hi there.
I am sitting in the car, and unfortunately, we have had some problems. I personally had problems on the plane last night, and there was unfortunately the stewardess ejected me from the plane, and I fell. And as I was falling, I was thinking happy thoughts. So of course, the Kundalini didn't let me hit hard. But I landed in a small town called St. Peter, which is currently where we are calling from. So we didn't make it to Mankato, and of course, Joey and Rosemary, they also wound up in St. Peter in their own terrestrial way. So we're literally in a town called St. Peter, Minnesota. And so this is where the show is originating from. And I'd like to welcome Joey, Rosemary, and everybody in the chat room and everybody that's called in to the program. The program today, as I begin to stream now, before I start to do this, I'm going to ask Amelia Santara if she can hear me okay, and if the chat room people can hear okay. So can we have a little idea from the chat room if the sound is coming through clear? And hopefully they're right. I don't get it. Yeah?
Your sound is fine here, Chrism. Nobody is typing. I never like that. Oh, yes, Mary Jean is, yes, she says, okay. Thanks, Mary Jean. It's a heart-stopping moment, guys, when we said sound check from the chat room, please, and nobody starts to type. It's like, oh no! Yeah, so we rely on your feedback very much. Yeah. Okay, so the sound is coming through okay, Chrism.
Okay, now I'm calling through from my phone here, and I can't see too clearly, so I'm going to kind of try to bring up my brightness somehow. Brightness. They should give me a... Wow, that's really hard. They should give me a... There it is, I think. There we go. Oh, my God, that's so much better. Okay, and I'm going to come back here. And, yes, there we are. Okay, and, yes. So we'll be having a motorcycle start up next to us in a moment. So just to let everybody know, not to be surprised, nobody is being shot or killed. You will hear no screaming here. So with this program, I'd like to go ahead and begin. But before I start, I'm going to hand the phone to Rosemary. She has an announcement to make.
Yes, indeed. An announcement for this Saturday and Sunday, our Kundalini seminar on the prairie in Cannon Falls. And my phone number is 651-329-9615, Rosemary G at usinternet.com. Hope to see you there. There are people that have called in and heard about it on this web radio, so that's good news. And the next Wednesday will be after the seminar, so we will have some things to share then too, I would think.
All right. Thank you, Rosemary. And I would like to pass the phone also to Amelia Santara. She may have an announcement about Berlin.
Yes, I mean, it hasn't changed so much since last week, Chrism, but definitely by next week, I promise listeners, we will have more specific information. I can tell you the dates. The dates are September the 3rd, September the 4th, the Friday and Saturday. That's the first weekend in September, and it's happening in Berlin. Kundalini Awakening Berlin. So you are all most welcome, those of you listening to me now from Europe, from the UK, which is still in Europe, and from Ireland. And we would very much like to see you there. I'm going, and I'm looking forward to it. I know Jessa is coming, Helly is coming. There are other people coming that are on our groups and that are listening to the show. So please do get in touch with us. You can, for the next week, if you wish, contact me on my Facebook message, and I can put you on the list. But by next week, I will have, again, maybe more specific details for you. So I look forward very much to that. So that's my announcement about the seminar, Chrism. As we're here, I will also give the announcement about where you can go if you want to make a donation to support the work that Chrism does. That place is www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and you will see a donate button there. We have also set up a donation web, not so much a web, but it's a Facebook group, and I can give you that actually at the end of the program if you would like to join there and talk about donations and supporting the work that Chrism does for all of us and for people who have yet to come into an awakening. And that is one of the most important things, because I know for myself, had I not come across Chrism's teachings, had I not, come into that information that informed me so beautifully about what was happening to myself in my process, I don't know what would have happened, because I was in a place of fear of, I was in a place of not knowing what was happening to me. And as soon as I read Chrism's teachings, it was very obvious that this is what was happening to me. So my mission at the moment is to support this work and for Chrism to be able to continue to do this on a full-time basis, that he's not going to have to look for employment in order to financially support himself in this work, that we as a community, and there are many of us, would be able to donate regularly, and yet not very much. We don't have to donate a lot, but regularly, so that this can be a possibility, and we can maybe delete the possibility of Chrism having to return or look for full-time work. So I'm going to give you that original site again. It's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and later on I will give you the words for the Facebook group should you wish to join us there as well. So that's it, Chrism. Looking forward to the show, and I'm sure we'll have some wonderful sound effects, but not your chair this week.
True enough. I am listening to the sound effects right outside of St. Peter, Minnesota, live and in full color right now, as we sit in the parking lot of a McDonald's restaurant. And Joey has tied Rosemary's hands so that she can't get out of the car and rush into the McDonald's restaurant and, do what people do there. So I would just like to say thank you, Joey, and thank you, Rosemary, for letting me make that joke.
Of all people,
all right, so,
Rosemary is not rushing.
Joey actually asked Rosemary, he says, Rosemary, do you want to go in and get some food before the show starts? And Rosemary gently demurred, no, thank you.
That's
okay,
the Rosemary
all right.
I love.
One thing I want to cover here is fear. I was on the airplane coming out to Minnesota, and because I try to travel as inexpensively as possible, it gives you a plethora of airport stops for you to make. And in this case, I was stopping in a city called Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and which is right along the shores of one of the Great Lakes. And we got off the plane, and I just begun to wander around the airport looking for my gate. And all the while, unbeknownst to me, there was a tremendous electrical storm, electricity and rain, and some heavy winds in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And so my flight was delayed. First it was delayed a half an hour, and then it was delayed like 2.5 hours, and which is all fine. You just kind of take a moment, go into meditation, not on your floor, fingers in position, chin down, eyes up, because that tends to freak people out around you here in the United States, especially in the Midwest United States. So you just pretend to read a book or stare at a sign, and you just kind of like say Om Namah Shivaya Om or some other easy, gentle meditation. And that was fine. And then all of a sudden, we heard that we were to get onto the plane immediately, and they immediately started shuffling us onto the plane as soon as they could. And once we were all on the plane, and the plane was headed out on the tarmac, pardon the Harley Davidson riders, they just love to be heard. He's still going to play his music for us a little bit here. And as the plane was coming out onto the tarmac, the plane was suddenly stopped, and the captain came on board, or came over the loudspeaker, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, we are having some engine problems. One or both of the onboard engine generators are not functioning. And we have contacted our control offices, and they're saying that you're going to have to wait a little bit while a repair crew comes out and repairs your jet. And people started to take that in stride, although you can only imagine that, when you're up 35,000 feet in the air, you don't necessarily want to have your engines stop. And so people were a little jumpy about, well, why don't they just give us another plane? Surely there's another plane available with an outfit as big as Southwest Airlines here is in the United States. But no, there was not another available, and so we sat on the tarmac for a while as the repair crew came on board and began to assess the level of repair that had to be made, and then to make that repair. And as soon as the repairs were made, the captain got clearance from the tower, and the tower allowed us to take off. And as we took off, we encountered some of the most severe turbulence that I've ever experienced in a jet. And it was literally like we were being in an earthquake, like a level 6 earthquake, for 2 hours straight, and people were terrified on the plane. Babies were crying, and the jolting was so bad the stewardesses couldn't even travel down the aisle. Nobody was going to the bathroom, and people had that rabbit in the headlights look about, are we going to die? Is this something that is going to kill us? And if you looked out the window, which of course I was in a window seat, you could see the lightning flashing, and instead of going completely around the storm, the pilot was skirting actually some of the more active edges of the storm, and I'm sure that course was laid out not so much by him but by the towers in the general areas. But anyway, this sparked fear. And the whole cabin was filled with fear. And your job and my job as a Kundalini person is to begin to ground some of that fear. Now, your body can still feel it. The corporeal system will still feel it. The heart rate jumps. The breathing can get a little more shallow. People can become hyper aware of what's going on, and things are shaking all over the place. It's a perfect opportunity to begin to modulate, controls your life. And, the thought of falling 35,000 feet to your death, is not the most comforting thought that a person can have. And I, it wasn't a full flight, and so I had the whole row to myself, and yet I could see across the aisle to a woman who was staring at me with her eyes wide, wondering if she was going to survive this. And I just nodded to her and tried to bring into my radiance a level of peace and tranquility, because when you're up 35,000 feet, you pretty much just need to surrender to the forces that are there. You've already made the choice to be up into the airplane. You've already made that choice. There is no going back. You're trusting the pilot, the co-pilot, and all the ground crews and the air traffic controllers. You're trusting that they're making the right choices to prolong your existence on this world. And as I mentioned before, this lasted the entire flight. Even coming into the landing, a huge down thrust of wind forced the airplane to go down into a big dip, and then the pilot corrected and it came up. And so it was really very interesting and carnival ride, for the landing comes to mind. The scenario is this, though, is that the Kundalini can be very, very similar for a person to go through extreme levels of fear that they don't know why they're having, and to adopt these levels of surrender to the Shakti Kundalini, to the forces that allow the Kundalini to be in you and to be expressing through you. You must take hold of yourself and do not panic. Do not run off to the ER unless you feel you must. But for those that are within actual Kundalini and they don't have, say, a pre-existing medical situation, the Kundalini will not show up on any of the tests that the doctors will want to put you through. And so you are forced, just like the people and myself were in the plane last night, you're forced. Trust the powers that are, in this case, within you, orchestrating a very, very, very strong, tactile, perhaps phenomena-heavy experience within the Kundalini, and just go as much as you can towards that tranquility, towards that love, towards that serenity, towards that surrender to the divine forces within you, because that is what is controlling it. That is what is giving it to you. And if you can go there, you'll just begin to brush into the levels of joy and happiness and ecstasy, no matter what occurs. No matter what occurs. Your life will not change except for the better. And the other thing is, with Kundalini, you may have this feeling of impending doom, or of this feeling that your life is over, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die due to Kundalini. That is not a very, very typical scenario at all. What that kind of an impending sense of doom really indicates is that your life is going to change towards the Kundalini. You're going to be given very special levels of grace. You're going to be given very special levels of phenomena, nothing that you would typically have reference points for. It's certainly no reference points for the level of joy and happiness that awaits you within the Kundalini awakening continuum. The kind of joy that you feel when you help someone out, or when you feed a starving person, or when you rescue an animal or a pet. The kind of joy you feel when you feel that you have been blessed very specifically by God or Goddess, or however your belief system propels you to think in those areas. It's a strong level of joy almost rapturous in so many ways. I was talking with Joey this morning, and we were having a profound, for me at least, it was a profound Kundalini conversation. Was it that way for you, Joey?
Yes, it was.
We're having a profound Kundalini conversation, and I start feeling the bliss coming up. I feel the bliss coming up in a strong wave of joy and ecstasy and love and happiness, all blended together into one feeling that begins to make my eyes water and begins to shorten my breath. And it, I get to the point where I have ecstatic Kundalini bliss, and I can't move, and I kind of silently ask for that not to occur. Not that I'm not grateful for it, but that, that's the most important thing. Not to give me feelings of bliss. That's not the most important thing. For the information to come through. That is what is important. And Joey and Rosemary are two amazing individuals who can actually handle, have, and hold that level of information. And I feel so blessed to be in their presence, even now on this show. And so, as you have these kinds of experiences, and, some of the more challenging ones, such as entities or kriyas, or, the kriyas would be the spontaneous movements of the body that are brought about by the Kundalini and against the will of the individual, or seeing the entities, which is, sometimes an easy thing to see if you're seeing things that are gentle upon your consciousness, such as angels or fairies, or, in Amelia's case, leprechauns or elves, or Kenichis if you live in the southwestern United States. These types of things can be very pleasing to the mind. And they are real. We can laugh, but they are real. They are real creatures. I get the feeling that I want to check with you, Amelia. Are you here? Am I talking to the air?
No, I'm here, Chrism.
Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Sometimes the cell phone will just drop out, and I just want to make sure that I'm not going on and on and on to a cell phone that has dropped off.
I know. Yeah.
And so
okay.
And so it's very important for you to take a stand, take a stand within yourself and choose to overcome the fear. Choose to not recognize fear that is just based on not understanding what is going on all the time in our society, in the Western technical societies, and in many other societies as well. People want to know what is happening to them from a very clear and present understanding of A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 2 equals 3. And that is not always the case with the Kundalini. And so you need to really begin to practice trusting your process. The more you trust your Kundalini, the less fear you will have from the Kundalini. And it's very important to do that. Certainly inside of, stressful situations like what was happening playing last night, and perhaps some stressful, situations that we had, with some of our earlier morning that we had today, and if you're away from home for a reason, you're wondering how your children are doing or how your spouse is doing, and maybe you have a concern about that. Well, you trust the Kundalini to reach out and to help them as well, and she will, and he will. And so I want to really, really, I want to really put that forward into your consciousness right now, how important it is for you not to have fear. And I'm going to go straight into the subject of donations. I have received some donations, and I'm very grateful for those folks who have found it within their heart to give the donations to the work that the Kundalini is doing through myself and through Rosemary and through Joey and through Amelia Santara, through Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, and the many, many other people who really make this show work the way it can work. It's very important for people to understand. It's not all about Chrism. Not all about this guy with the beard and the glasses and going around, wearing an orange shirt or whatever. It's not all about one person. It's about you, the person you see in the mirror every morning. That person who gets ready for work, who takes care of the kids, who gets out into traffic and allows people to go ahead of them, who isn't, cutting in front of other people because they're so angry because they had so much caffeine that they can't have compassion or consideration for other people on the road. And, if this is you, then, let that be a gentle pull-up for you, a gentle awareness of maybe backing off some of that caffeine and some of that high fructose corn syrup or artificial sugars that may allow your body to produce too much of a fight or flee scenario within your bloodstream, which feeds directly into fear, by the way. The more caffeine you have in your system, the more fear you're going to experience if you're put into a stressful situation. So just let that be understood by you. Let this form a level of reference for you so that within your process you can begin to take control of your fear and to give your love and your truth, the truth of who you are, the truth of how you want to be into your Kundalini, the truth of the grace that is flowing within you right now. You don't have to go all the way to the outskirts of St. Peter, where I am right now, in order to do this. You can do it right now. Right now. Okay. I would like people to know that this will be a short program today, simply because of my circumstances right now, and I apologize for those who enjoyed our normal 2-hour program, but I'm going to have to try to make this about an hour because the ladies, they're looking at McDonald's, and I can see the hunger in their eyes.
Well, you obviously still have to drive. You have to drive to Mankato, obviously, Chrism, yeah?
Yes.
How far away is it?
How far away is Mankato, Joey?
Only about 11, 12 miles.
So 11, 12 miles. And that is the question. Do you McDonald's or do you not McDonald's? And can you not McDonald's for 12 miles, or must you give in to the powerful pull of a mix and match McPick, as I'm seeing here? Sorry. I just find it enjoyable when I'm at a McDonald's.
And that's what?
Talk about fear. Talk about fear control. Anyway,
that was excellent. That was an excellent example, Chrism. It really was. Really, really good. I have a question. Can I ask
the mix
you?
And match, the mix and match McPick, too?
No.
Never mind. Yes, please begin with the question, my dear.
Yeah, this isn't on my list. I just was wondering, the way some people do not get to experience the bliss and the joy at the start of their activation. It's very much like what you described your plane journey. It's straight into, very strong, very difficult phenomena, and it can feel as if they're being damaged and they're struggling and they're fearful and they don't know what to do. And they often read about, people experiencing joy and bliss, and you even spoke about, a person having no reference points for that joy and bliss until they feel it. I suppose my question is, if a person is activated, if Kundalini is activated, is the bliss and the joy is it definitely going to come down the road for them?
It's typical. It's definitely a typical scenario. A person does wind up having levels of joy and bliss come to them, but in ways that are really not well known or well understood by the individual. Waves and waves of bliss. Your eyes are crying and your breath is heaving just as if you'd been crying. It's very, very beautiful, very joyful, very happy. but it doesn't look that way to the outside observer. It looks like it could be quite the painful scenario. And you mentioned reading things on the web, and I'm going to suggest that by far the majority of things that you'll read about Kundalini on the web are fearful. You know, you're reading about Kundalini syndrome. You're reading about, oh, my God, I'm seeing things that nobody else sees. I'm hearing things that nobody else hears. My body is jerking around without my control. Oh, my God, what is happening? Oh, I got to go to the ER. Take me to the ER, Joey.
No thanks.
So, yeah, it can be very, very, very traumatic to a person, and I understand that. I understand that very well. But it is not that. It is not to be understood in a fearful context. It is to be understood in a loving, helpful, kind, and considerate transformation into your further evolution of the soul that you are. You know, the physical body is not the end-all, be-all when it comes to evolution. The soul is what evolves. The body is the vehicle for soul evolution to occur. And so, you know, if you're having the Kundalini come to you right now and you're not sure what's going on, say you're inside of an entity possession and you know that something or some things, plural, are sharing your body, and you're being caused to hear, see, and interact with things that you cannot and nobody else can understand or hear and see. You don't necessarily have bipolarism. You're not necessarily, sick or ill in any way. You can have the Kundalini, and it's just that the Kundalini will use these outside forces to really begin to force you to have mindfulness about what it is that is occurring for you. How she wants you to think, for instance. Does she constantly want you to think in fear? No. She wants you to think in fearless ways. And sometimes she may assign entities to you to force you into a very specific mindset that forces you to do the crucible of reversal, which is basically reversing anything that entities or other consciousness than your own might want you to do. And so you are put into a stress teaching in a way. This would be considered a stress teaching, where the entities say, oh, Chrism, you're here at the McDonald's. You should go in there and get a mix and match McPick right now. You know, and you would fight that. You would say, no, I will wait until I can find a place that sells really clean, wholesome food that does not have GMOs and is organic and as much as possible eat clean. And so the entities would totally literally do that. Person has an entity involvement with them, the entity will suggest that you do the worst thing that you could possibly do for yourself. Eat the sugar, okay? Eat as chemically toxic food as you can, GMO'd food, and think that is good, or think that is healthy, or think that is going to help you with it. And it won't. It knows that this will hurt the system, and that's the whole point. That's why the entity suggests it. So you practice that mindfulness, and you self-correct yourself away from anything, a consciousness that is not you, that is currently within your mind space. You go against that, and you don't get the whatever that McDonald's thing is, and you go and you do find the good food, and it becomes a very, very, very easy teaching to metabolize. No pun intended. It becomes a very, very easy teaching, because every time you're told to do something, you go against it, but you got to think about it first. It's like, well, where is the corruption inside that suggestion? Because sometimes they'll tell you to do something that isn't corrupting, so that you can form some sort of a confidence in them, and so you just ignore them as much as you possibly can. You ignore that input, and you do what you know the Kundalini wants you to do, and it becomes a very, very effective format for the individual from the Kundalini using discarnate entities. And so, if you have that, well, it's very easy to slip into fear at first. But after a while, after you trust the Kundalini and you constantly and continuously say to yourself how you trust the Kundalini, that you are giving yourself to the Kundalini, not entities, not the stressful teachings that the Kundalini is giving to you, but the result of those stressful teachings, which would be a total and complete faith and trust in the Kundalini process that's upon you right now. You give that inside of your early process, and your early process will bring to you those levels of those treasures of bliss and happiness and joy and ecstasy. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Well, there's a question here about locks. Ooh, what's that?
Okay, go ahead. We're just moving the car.
There's a question about locks. It's not so much one specific question. There was a few items came up about it, Chrism. So could you speak a little bit about locks? There's one particular lock which I think is called the Granthus. Have I that pronounced correctly? Granitus or Granthus lock?
Oh, you mean the Granthi knots? K-N-O-T-S.
I'm saying lock. Knot. That's what the word I intended to use. Sorry. Yeah, the knots. People have been saying that the knots are very difficult and that the Kundalini begins to work through on them. And could you speak a little bit about that and in particular the Granthus knot?
Granthi. G-R-A-N-T-H-I.
Granthi.
And that is, once again, that's a Sanskrit term. These knots, there are three Granthi knots within an individual within that process, and those Granthi knots are there as a test, as a source of testing for the individual to push them into surrender. Surrender would be associated with the Granthi knot that is closer to the throat area and the heart area. And these Granthi knots exist in different areas for each person depending upon their karma and their process. And the Granthi knots, and I can't tell you right off the top of my head right now what the Sanskrit word Granthi means. And but if you Google Granthi and then Knots, you'll be able to find out at least what some people consider that meaning is to be. These Granthi knots indeed can be very difficult to unravel, but that does not kill your process. If you're not able to unravel the Granthi knot, does not mean that the Kundalini is not going to continue within your grace. Sorry, I had to take my gloves off real quick. But the Granthi knots are to be worked on. Some of the Granthi knots have to do with forgiveness. Some of them have to do with power and position, and some of them have to do with physical well-being. And are you giving into your desires? Are you giving into your attachments? If you're having early Kundalini awakening symptoms, are you giving into fear? Are you able to go beyond the desires and the mechanisms of the ego? You see, this is where the Granthi knots will really begin to expose themselves. Are you able to get beyond the ego? Are you able to get beyond the fear that Kundalini phenomena can give you? And these Granthi knots are, they take a while to get. Kundalini puts you into positions of fear so that you can work directly upon those Granthi knots within yourself. They're very important. They're not bad. They're not bad at all. They contain a wealth, a treasure trove of inner understandings and teachings that are given to you directly through your communion and the communion of the Kundalini with you. Okay? And so look up the word Granthi, and I know you're going to get a wide variety of meanings, but realize that a lot of these people that give you the meanings of the word Granthi don't have Kundalini themselves. And I always teach people to take with a grain of salt any kind of a suggestion that a person without Kundalini makes towards a person who has the Kundalini. Having and not having are 1,000 universes apart. When you have it, that's one thing. When you don't have it, that's extremely different. Okay. And so working on these Granthi knots is basically honing your process, giving yourself into the process, letting the process teach you about what your own particular Granthi knot needs in order to find that combination where you can unravel it and the energy can flow. And that's what it's really about. These 3 Granthi knots, they form intentional blockages of energetic flow in the individual that individual then can consciously work to unravel. And as you consciously work to unravel them, you're following your Kundalini, you're surrendering to your Kundalini, you're trusting your Kundalini. And that may mean that she takes control of your appetite. That may mean that she takes control of your sex life. That may mean that she takes you away from a job, takes you away from your home, takes you away from friends and family, and sequesters you into a small area where all you get to do is work on the Kundalini. And believe me, this happens quite often with people. Process. And that's just a little bit about the Granthi knots. They're not to be feared. They're to be embraced. And as you embrace them, you begin to loosen that knot. You begin to open that energetic flow within yourself. And it's not just the Granthi knots, though, too. It's also, the issues of power and position and competition that we have in our society. Do you compete unconsciously? I ask you. You. That's right, you, listening to me right now in the archives. That's right. I see you in the archives. You who are listening to me in the archives, do you compete without knowing that you're competing? That's also the component of a Granthi knot. Are you competing on the road? Do you jockey for position all the time? So you see somebody put their turn signal on, and do you kind of speed up so they can't turn in front of you? I know I have never done that. And I know they don't do that in Ireland. That's against the law in Ireland. They don't do anything bad in Ireland. So yeah. Sorry, Amelia.
Yeah. That's okay.
Anyway. So do you actively, unconsciously compete with other people in your society? And if you do, how come you're still doing that? Why are you still doing that? Who is it you're trying to beat? What is it you're going to win? Who are you going to impress? What's the reward? What's the prize? Is it just ego expressing itself in a competitive manner? Like those little kids that you hear right now? This is what a lot of us are in our early aspect of our Kundalini awareness. We're like little kids that you can hear. Knock it off. That's right.
Perfect.
How appropriate.
Oh.
So yeah, we're at a McDonald's, so of course you'd expect to interact with the kids. So yeah, that's all about the Granthi knots. Competition. Competition is a huge level of Granthi awareness, where you're constantly trying to be better than another person, or you're constantly trying to find a way to beat out another person for a position in traffic, or for money, or for ego conquests, such as you'd have in the Olympics or on the local high school or nursery school basketball field, or whatever it may be. We're trained in our societies, in the Western technological societies, but other societies as well, to compete hard, to compete in such a way that you become number one. Okay, and you hear it on the high school football fields. We're number one. We're number one. And you have the cheerleaders in their beautiful little costumes, and the football players in their interesting little costumes. And we're basically programmed to compete in such a way that programming doesn't leave us when we grow out of our nursery school and we come into our Kundalini awakening, which is a big jump in the evolutionary process of our soul, and yet we still cling to those programs that we've been raised with. And the Kundalini is suggesting that you begin to leave that programming behind you. It is no longer needed. Just as we no longer live in caves or hunt and gather with spears and flint arrowheads, just as we no longer do those things in our society, at least here in St. Peter, Minnesota, so shall we not also express these primitive qualities of survival-based competition. You don't go and grab a hamburger out of a little kid's hand simply because you're stronger than he is or she is. You see what I'm saying? Kundalini is pushing you further and further and further into the evolution of the soul. Evolution that is based in love. Just like your parents loved you and raised you and tried to give you levels of understanding about your life, so is the Kundalini also pushing you and prodding you and helping you and assisting you in going further than what competitive values currently may have to teach you. Over.
Wow, thank you so much. Excellent, Chrism. That was
You're
wonderful.
number one. You're number one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Right, next question is actually connected. Kundalini and soul are not separated even after death. Do all souls have similar properties?
No. You have to awaken the Kundalini for it to travel with you in a conscious state into the next life. And I mean that in the awakened, activated state. So let's say Chrism, the stewardesses ejected him out of the airplane because, he was drinking too much. Joey says drinking too much. And so, and he hits the ground and he dies and he leaves the body and he goes into the next expression. And because he's awakened the Kundalini has come awake or activated within him. That activated state stays. That information that came from the activated states, the phenomena associated with the activated state, the abilities that were gained in the activated state, such as seeing spirits, such as hearing spirits, such as maybe telepathy or telekinetics or whatever it is, communication with animals, shape-shifting, whatever it may be, that individual was able to, during their awakening time, the corporeal awakened state, will travel with them into the next incarnation. And guess what, folks? There will be a next incarnation. Don't think that just because you've awakened the Kundalini or activated it, that you no longer have to come back into the body. I got news for you. Newsflash. You do. Because even as you were going through your life on this world, you were creating karma. Every step that you take, every door that you open, has a karmic reverberation. Even with the Kundalini person, the radiance that exists upon their aura and on their fingers, and if I were to go into this McDonald's over here to the right and just press on that door, the Kundalini comes up on that door, and the next person that presses on that door gets a little bit of that Kundalini. Karma has been made. Karma has been made. Not necessarily bad karma. It can be good karma too, but karma is karma. And you will come back, and you will learn from the karmic reverberations that have been created throughout your life. And so it's very important for people to understand that, yes, indeed, you will come back into a body, with the Kundalini awakened or activated within you. And as you come back into that body, you will indeed, as a child, you can have the expanded awareness, the exalted gifts, and the absolute blindness of what is happening. You'll have no information because you went through the veil of forgetfulness to come into the body in the first place. That's the deal, folks. You don't get to be a saint at the age of 3. You have to learn what it is to say no. Say no, Joey.
No.
See, just like that. When you're 2, mommy is trying to feed you that carrot, those cream of carrot, like Amelia left me at the house, and the baby's saying, no, because that cream of carrot is kind of weird.
Chrism is saying, no. No.
And often within the Kundalini context, we're going to be saying, no. I am not going to be a vegetarian, or I'm not going to give up that meat, that beef jerky, that, what do they call that? The pork rinds. Oh my God. If you live in the UK or Ireland, black or white pudding. And don't ask me to tell you what that is. That's even worse than pork rinds. And so, you're saying, no, I like my pork rinds. I live for my hydrogenated, boiled, I live for these, any of these various foods that the Kundalini may pull you away from, steak or, whatever it may be. Or conversely, if you're a vegetarian and you all of a sudden the Kundalini is saying, I think you need to eat some salmon. I think you need to eat some beef or some deer or some sort of a carnivorous food. And you're going, oh my God, you're kidding me? I'm a vegan. Mother Shakti. So you have to surrender to those things. You have to surrender to that. And so, when you come in, I remember I came in this way. I'm speaking from direct experience. I was a Kundalini awakened child inside of a family and a society that did not recognize it, was not accepting of it, and still to this day, my family, is very, very much in the dark about what Kundalini is or isn't about. And because they love me, they just kind of like tolerate me. Figure I'm just one of the odd ducks, in society, and they just, kind of like, they just tolerate me, and so it's a loving thing too. Over.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. It's coming up to our hour, so there's a question here I'd like to ask you. It's an interesting one. You have never been asked before, and you won't have too much time to think about it. Are you ready? Chrism.
Yes.
If you were able to choose to be the student of any master down through the years, down through the centuries, I assume they mean, who would you choose?
Well, okay, I mean, is it a student of the, about Kundalini?
If you were to be...
Is it Mrs. Kurgel, my kindergarten school teacher?
No, it's in the context of a master, and I'm assuming
Mrs.
Kundalini.
Mrs. Kurgel was really nice. I got really good finger painting tips from Mrs. Kurgel. She was very good to me. So it's an ascended.
That's not your answer, is it?
No.
Yeah, I think. I think it is. I wouldn't take it too seriously, but it's an interesting question all the same.
So the scenario is this would be a Kundalini teacher then?
Yeah. Realized, ascended, whatever word.
I would want a teacher like me. Seriously. I would want a teacher like me, somebody who was not afraid to give you the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, and not afraid to withstand your immediate levels of resistance to that information. Somebody who's going to go through the mud with you, somebody who's going to help you no matter what, assist you no matter what. That would be the person that I would want to be my Kundalini teacher. Wisdom is very good. Wisdom is very good. So from a level of wisdom, I would look at Sri Ramani. He was very good. This was the Indian saint that would hardly talk at all. That wouldn't talk. he's very limited, but he wrote some very, very, very amazing levels of wisdom. Another teacher that I would really appreciate would have been Yogananda. Another teacher that I would appreciate would have been Padmasambhava. Another teacher that I would appreciate would be Jesus Christ, a man who taught love, who taught peace, who taught turning the other cheek and levels of forgiveness and don't throw your pearls before people who don't appreciate it, even though I don't use the word swine because I don't see that pigs are bad people at all. They're very nice. I saw a pig surfing on YouTube the other day. And, that's not an easy thing to learn. So Jesus, I did. Buddha would be a Gautama would have been a teacher that I would have appreciated. But for Kundalini teachings, perhaps the one that comes closest to Chrism would be Gopi Krishna. Through the years, now Padmasambhava, he had a pretty good grip on Kundalini as well. As any of the saints that had Kundalini, like Saint Teresa of Avila, I would have loved to have been her student. Like Saint John of the Cross was Saint Teresa of Avila's student, Saint Francis of Assisi, I would have loved to be his student. Like Saint Giles was Saint Francis of Assisi's student, and Saint Giles became a saint because he was Saint Francis of Assisi's student. So there are plenty of teachers in the past present, which gives you an idea of the level of darkness we're in right now with regards to Kundalini. There is virtually nobody that is teaching a clean, concise, honest, truthful level of Kundalini awakening on the web or off the web that I can see, or my Kundalini is even able to see. And this is unfortunate. This is wrong. And so, of course, I'm out here in St. Peter, Minnesota, trying to rectify that, trying to correct that, trying to bring people such as Joey and such as Rosemary. Rosemary is turning into an excellent Kundalini instructor. And not only is she an excellent Kundalini instructor, she's an excellent Kundalini activated and awakened instructor, as are you, Amelia. And so these are the people that I would want to be surrounded by in my early process of Kundalini awakening. I would like to be around the stability of a person like Joey. Joey's very stable. She's very disciplined. She's very understanding, and she's very help oriented for people, as is Rosemary, as are you. Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez is another person that I would want to have to be my teacher. You see, I mean, these are the people that are in direct contact, direct flow of the Kundalini. It's very important for a person to understand that, a Kriya is a natural thing. Spontaneous body positioning is a natural thing. It's very important for people to understand that entities do not need to frighten you to pieces. It's very important for a person to understand that you may need to change your diet, that you don't need to be in fear, that you could be happy, healthy, and blissfully aware of what divine is giving to you. That's the kind of teacher I want. And frankly, I'm looking at it right now in this whole world. There's a person in Thailand, few people in Tibet, Africa, South America has some. Europe has a few. United States, not so much. Canada, not so much. Some of the tribal, there's some in Siberia, there's some in the tribal areas of the Eskimos and of the Native Americans have some, but they're hidden, they're secret. They're not doing this work in a public way. They're doing this work in a secretive way, which is not bad, don't get me wrong. Just because you're not out there, stumping for Kundalini doesn't mean you're not doing the work and you're not upgrading the levels of radiance that is there. China has some, but they're very hidden in China. Still scanty. The Aboriginals have more than a few. In Australia, the Australian Aborigine, they know about this. That's why they have the dream time, and it's not just the dream time, it's the rainbow dream time. Hello, chakras. the colors of the chakra. So yeah, there are people around the world who are doing this. They're just few and far between, especially in the United States, the continental United States. Some of the kahunas in Hawaii know about this, but they're very, very secretive. Once again, they're very much against. They see it as a robbing of their culture instead of a gift to other cultures, from one culture to another, from one people to another. Still looking here. New Zealand has 2. Checking. Indonesia has some. Indonesia, where they've mastered the warfare called Margalulu, Margalulu, and that is a way of fighting each other with chi, which has the way of awakening spontaneously the Kundalini. And so this is why Indonesia is fairly rich with some of these teachings. Bolivia had a lot at one time. Yeah. I'm going to have to say over because I'm getting pulled into so many different parts of the world right now. Sorry about that. I hope I answered that question. Okay.
Yeah, that was a great answer, Chrism.
I just would like to say thank you, Amelia, and thank you, everybody who's listening to the show. I apologize. Actually, could you ask Lorania to come on and see if she has something she'd like to say?
Absolutely. Going to do that now. Here she is. No. Hi.
Hi, Amelia. Hi, Chrism. Hi, Joey and Rosemary and everybody. Hello. She doesn't have. I'm just enjoying the show. I don't have any idea what's going on with me right now to go along with the show. But just wanted to wish you guys a great week and a great seminar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth and Lorania. Thank you both. Well, okay, then I'm just going to go. I want to say thank you for the people in the chat room who are listening who I can't see right now at the moment. Actually, I can sort of see you. People that are listening to this program in the archives. I'd like to give a special shout out to Shrikant and hope that his health is well and that he is able to listen to the show and to perhaps write his little reviews about it, which I do enjoy. I'd like to give a shout out to all the different groups that we are a part of and working with, and all the new people coming on with this. I would like to say many thanks to Amelia and to for having this program where people can actually hear and partake of the radiance that comes through the voice. You can find more information at Kundalini Awakening Systems #1.com. You can find, this is all free information. You're not paying for any of this. You can find more information if you go onto YouTube and type in Chrism.Kunalini. That's CHRISM.KUNDALINI. You can also go to Facebook, Chris Mitchell. That's what Facebook forces me to use. And then any of the blogs, I have about 5 to 6 blogs out there on the blogosphere. Trying really hard to get this information out. I'd like to thank the people that have donated, and this is helping me greatly get these books together without having to be employed. And I really want to let you know how much I appreciate that and how much those books will probably do, if we can get good publishing, will probably do more goodness than anything really, because people can hold it, have it, read it, reread it, reabsorb what they need to absorb. And so we're working really hard to get that going. I'd like to thank Francine for providing a place for the ashram to exist. I'd like to thank Brooke for taking care of Lasha and Tika and Nara while I'm gone. So many people to thank. Of course, Rosemary and Joey right here. They have done a tremendous amount of work in the Minnesota Twin Cities area, papering and Rosemary, put out a radio spot. Tremendously expensive thing. at the same time that she got into a car accident that's taken her car away from her, and so now she has to get a different vehicle, and so lots of drama and around here, but we're doing really well with reaching out into the Minnesota communities, and I have these two ladies to thank personally for that. And so once again, we will be in a place called Cannon Falls this weekend, and Katie, I'd like to say a special shout out to Katie and Marcy and her husband, and I'm going to hand the phone to Rosemary for a few more thank yous.
Yes, Katie came to mind right away. She's waiting for us to provide some nourishment before Chrism starts his talk this evening. And there have been a lot of responses with people in Minnesota, and Katie's expanded our listening through Mankato, and we'll be in Wyndham tomorrow evening, and then Friday back in the Twin Cities. So people are listening and responding, so we're grateful for that. And I loved, Chrism, when you were saying that someone like you is who you would choose as your teacher, because I was cheering quietly from the back seat here. I was going to say back pew, but that's not quite it.
The Church of Joey's Ford Focus. And I would like to say once again thank you to Joey and to Rosemary for they put out a tremendous level of effort here, and we're talking about people that travel down to Peru and do the jungle tea and everything like that, and these are well connected with Kundalini people. Joey's having kriyas, Rosemary's having visions. I mean, these people are right smack in the middle of their Kundalini agenda, and it's an honor to be with them. And it's an honor to be with everybody here as well. When I'm in these situations, I am forced to see in different ways. And, I'm starting to get blissed now, so I got to stop. But I just want to shout out my appreciation for you, Amelia Santara, for everybody that is a moderator on the groups, and Hallie and Manisha, Magdalene, Brooke, you, Elizabeth, everybody that is doing that work, and for the people that are setting up Berlin, Sotantar and Manisha and you, Amelia, Hallie. These are people that are we're getting ready to go onto the European continent for the first time ever. And I'm deeply appreciative to everybody that is doing the work there, and to the people that are doing the work here too. We're going to go out and give a speech. Hopefully, more than one person will show up, and even if it's just one person, I did a talk where one person showed up. And that whole experience was for that one person. That one person activated their Kundalini through the seminar. Ladies and gentlemen, it works. You just have to expose yourself to that work and then surrender to that work, and it will work through you as well. Over. Amelia, are we going to end the show, or are you going to go ahead and continue?
I'm going to end the show. Thank you. I just want to thank Joey, and I want to thank there's a fright. I want to thank Joey, though, and I want to thank Rosemary and you. And there's a wonderful energy, Chrism, beautiful, from the presence of those two ladies with you there in the car. I can feel it. It's been a wonderful show. It's shorter than usual, but packed with wonderful information. Thank you so much.
I just have to put in one little word. If anybody wants a teacher with passion, who would you pick? That's it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
yes.
I'm going to go ahead and end it the way we began. And any last words, Amelia?
Well, I am going to give people the donations, for your clean, concise, honest, truthful, wonderful teachings about Kundalini that we really need to have in the world, not just in America, not just in Europe, but everywhere. So if you want to support this work and you're on Facebook, just put in donations, Kundalini Awakening Systems, and come and join us there to support the work that Chrism does. Thank you, guys, and have a wonderful weekend at the seminar, and blessings to everybody who attends, and see you next week.
Thank you, Amelia. And here we go.